The first thing I'm going to say before diving into any other thoughts is if there's only one more Marvel film you see in your life, make it this movie. The Guardians of the Galaxy franchise has been a mixed bag for me. The first movie, I wasn't a huge fan of at first, then it sort of grew on me later. The second film, I really enjoyed a lot more, even though I know it had a lot of issues. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, though, is near perfect in my eyes. I enjoyed it more than the other two films. Somehow, even though all these movies take place in space, they feel the most grounded to me, especially this third one. This movie hit me in the feels harder than I'd like to admit. I had a couple dudes sitting next to me that were sniffling at certain emotional scenes, and that was sort of my measure to make sure that nothing's wrong with me. With that said, though, I don't think this movie hit any one emotion too hard for me. As powerful as it was equally as thrilling, action-packed, and funny. And this movie is just that. It's very funny. Funnier than the first two for me personally. Maybe if I went back and watched the first two, I'd feel differently, but I'm pretty sure this one was funnier. In terms of the action, I think I enjoyed this film's action more than any of the others as well. Just in the filmmaking alone, there was some really clever camera work. For example, one part that you can see part of it in the trailer, it's this hallway fight scene that's a one take, or at least they make it look like a one take. And it is a CGI fest, but there's enough realism baked into it that it works beautifully. It reminded me of the hallway action scenes in the Netflix Daredevil show, just in the way that it looked like a one take and it was a bunch of hand-to-hand combat. Of course, it was different because this is a sci-fi film, but it reminded me a lot of that. This was also the most true to the sci-fi genre I think this franchise has been so far. There was a lot of practical effects mixed in with the CG, a lot of practical costumes that I think looked really good, and it helped bring me into the movie. There's something about when these movies look too digital that your brain can't comprehend it or something, or maybe it's just me, but I end up forgetting half of what I saw by the time I'm out the theater door. I don't think that will be the case here. This is one of the few Marvel films that feels like there was a passionate vision behind it. It's very stylized, and somehow that made it more impactful for me. This is one of the few Marvel films also that feels like it has an actual director behind it that's driving that vision. James Gunn does this very well. Recently, I loved the D&D movie. I loved John Wick 4, and I loved a lot of movies that have come out recently, but there's something about Guardians of the Galaxy 3 that has hit different. It felt like a movie with palpable camaraderie and passion. It's like if you took Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 and cranked up the comedy, cranked up the action, cranked up the feels, and basically just make a movie that is better than its predecessors in every single way. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is everything a sequel should be. It's delivering something that fans really want and doing everything better than the last movie. And it goes without saying that the actors absolutely delivered. Chris Pratt returns as Star-Lord. He brought something extra and a little different to the character this time that for me added a lot to it. I understood him a little better, and he delivered a fantastic performance to match that writing. And all the other Guardians of the Galaxy delivered fantastic performances that you've come to expect by now as well. And Chukwudi Iwuji, hope I said the name right, plays the High Evolutionary, the villain in this film, and I thought he did a fantastic job. He kind of reminded me of James Earl Jones playing Thulsa Doom in Conan the Barbarian. He had that way about him, that menacing voice. It was just such a perfect villain, and I know he fell prey to some of the typical Marvel villain stuff, but because the writing, the movie, everything about this film was so good, it elevated him enough that I actually think he might be a memorable villain. I had no issue with him. He was perfectly serviceable for this movie, and maybe even a little above serviceable. All in all, James Gunn has created possibly one of the best Marvel films to date. Thank God that Disney uncanceled him. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is absolutely worth going out to the theater to check out. Don't wait for it on Disney+. It deserves the theater watch. I really think I'm going to remember this movie more and rewatch it more than most Marvel movies, maybe besides Thor Ragnarok. In terms of the Halum's hero scale, I'm gonna give Guardians of the Galaxy 3 the Halum's Greatest Heroes ranking. This is the first movie that's making it to Halum's Greatest Heroes, and I'm really happy that it's Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I think that's pretty cool. I also wanted to apologize for missing some big movie releases and being delayed in some of my reviews. I have a lot of stuff going on in my personal life right now, jobs moving around and all sorts of stuff. But thank you as always for watching. I really appreciate it. See ya.